The freedom of an 80s childhood wasn't just about riding your bike without a helmet. It was about living in a world with a completely different set of rules for health and safety. Some of the most common, everyday practices from that time are almost shocking to look back on now. So, let's take a deep breath, or maybe don't, as we dive into a time when a haze of smoke filled the air, and safety often took a back seat to convenience. Smoking was everywhere. It is hard for younger generations to even imagine, but in the 1980s, smoking was not just common, it was everywhere. Smoking was still very big, and parents smoked in the home and in the car with kids still in it. The windows would be rolled up, and secondhand smoke was just something that everyone had to live with. The idea of protecting children from it wasn't a major concern for most people. You would go out to eat, and it was not uncommon to see people just smoking away in restaurants. Many of these places probably didn't even have separate smoking sections. And even if they did, the smoke didn't exactly respect the imaginary line drawn between tables. It was a constant, hazy backdrop to daily life, a reality that feels completely alien today. It was a time when the only smoke-free zone was probably outer space. Buying cigarettes for your parents. The casual attitude towards smoking extended to how cigarettes were sold. It's in thought now, but back then, you could find cigarette vending machines right in front of some stores and restaurants. There was no identification check or anything. You could just insert the quarters and pull the knob for a pack of your favorite brand. Even more shocking, it was also a time when kids would run to the convenience store to pick up some essentials for their parents. Sometimes, those essentials were cigarettes. All a kid needed was a handwritten note from mom or dad, and maybe a blank check, and the clerk would sell them a pack of cigarettes without batting an eye. This practice, which would cause a massive scandal today, was just a normal part of running errands for the family. The original door-to-door delivery for cigarettes was just your 10-year-old kid on a bicycle. Chickenpox parties. Long before there was a vaccine, pretty much every kid was expected to get the chickenpox, and many parents had a very strange strategy for dealing with it. Most people felt it was best just to get chickenpox out of the way, so you wouldn't have to worry about it later when it could be more serious. This led to a bizarre phenomenon, the chickenpox party. If one kid in the neighborhood started showing the telltale spots, then it was time to gather every other kid who hadn't gotten it yet for a good old-fashioned party. The goal of the party wasn't to have fun. It was to intentionally expose all the healthy children to the virus so they would all get sick together. It was a calculated public health strategy organized by moms in the neighborhood. Getting sick on purpose seemed like a brilliant idea back then. Today, we just call that a biohazard. The peanut allergy blind spot. Today, schools are extremely cautious about food allergies, with many having peanut-free zones. But in the 1980s, this level of awareness simply did not exist. Peanut allergies certainly were around back then, but the reaction to them was completely different. Kids still brought peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and other peanut products to school every single day. There were no special tables for kids with allergies, and the idea of peanut and other allergy bans was not a thing. The EpiPen, the life-saving device for severe allergic reactions, did not even hit the market until 1987. For a child with a severe allergy, the school lunchroom was a daily minefield. As the script bluntly put it, if you had an allergy, you just had to hope you didn't die. Back then, the only thing your lunchbox had a warning label for was how awesome the cartoon character on it was. Physical punishment. This is a topic that highlights a massive shift in cultural thinking. In the 1980s, physical punishment was also something that was viewed very differently. Paneling, or a swat from parents, family, or even teachers, was considered completely reasonable if a kid misbehaved or was disrespectful. It wasn't something that was hidden or debated. in the same way it is today. For many, it was just an expected consequence of breaking the rules. The punishment was usually swift and painful, intended as a short, sharp lesson to correct behavior. The idea of timeouts, gentle parenting, or long discussions about feelings had not yet entered the mainstream. Discipline was more straightforward and, from a modern perspective, much harsher. What was once seen as a normal part of raising a child is now viewed through a much different lens of child psychology and developmental health, making it one of the most significant social shifts between then and now. A time when a trip to the principal's office could be a threat to both your permanent record and your backside. The wild world before PG-13. Today, we take the movie rating system for granted, but for the first half of the decade, a huge piece of it was missing. The PG-13 rating didn't exist until July 1st, 1984. Prior to that, movies got away with a lot more because there was a huge, unregulated gap between a PG rating and a hard R rating. If you take a look back at the movie Airplane from 1980, which was rated PG, you'll understand how wide this gap was. That movie was filled with a lot of adult humor in it, and it even showed some nudity. The tipping point came after outrage from parents over intense scenes in PG-rated films like Indiana Jones and The Temple of Doom and Gremlins. People realized that a rating was needed for movies that were too mature for young kids, but not quite restricted enough for an R rating. So, on August 10th, 1984, the action film Red Dawn, starring Patrick Swayze and Charlie Sheen, became the first ever PG-13 movie to be released in theaters. It created a brand new landscape for blockbusters and changed the movie-going experience for families forever. Before PG-13, a PG movie could mean anything from a talking dog to a man's heart getting ripped out of his chest. It was a cinematic lottery. Over the last 40 years, there have been so many changes, not just in technology, but in regulations and our very ideas of what is right and wrong. From smoky restaurants to unsupervised freedom, the 1980s truly was a different world. It's a powerful reminder that the good old days were more complicated than we sometimes remember. They were a mix of incredible freedom, questionable safety, and cultural norms that are almost unrecognizable today. What's the one thing from your 80s childhood that you remember doing that would never fly in today's world? Share your own story in the comments below. We hope you enjoyed this little walk down memory lane. Thank you so much for watching.